This is one of the easiest ways to book calls, and I used it to generate 142 of them in the past 30 days. But I didn't have some crazy AI system or anything. All I did was follow a simple 3-part strategy that almost anybody can copy. And I'm about to show you how to use it so you can start booking calls using cold email. However, while most gurus tell you that every single message needs to build trust and have a strong offer, this strategy skips all of that. It's so simple, honestly, that it's almost lazy. Yet, I still use it to book calls for me and my clients. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what the strategy is and how you can use it to book more sales calls for yourself. Now, most people overcomplicate lead generation. They see a tutorial on YouTube going over some crazy AI system only to end up more confused than they were before. But it doesn't necessarily have to be this way, because even though the strategy is extremely simple, it actually puts calls on the calendar. And it's called the Trojan horse method, and it goes against what every guru tells you. And this first part of the strategy is going to be the first email that you send. Now, the first step of the process is going to be leveraging a curiosity-based first line. And the strategy has gained popularity a lot recently, but we put a little bit of a twist on it. So the one thing that we always do is ask a question that we know the answer to. We know in 80 to 90% of the cases they're going to say yes unless our data is wrong. So as you can see here, we asked this prospect if they're still offering financial services to clients in the education industry. And this is something that we knew was true. Now, for most curiosity-based first lines, this is where the strategy ends. So essentially what we want to do though is allude to a potential piece of value that we have that they want access to. Because if you ask somebody a question and they're really busy, they have a bunch of emails in their inbox, there's no real purpose for the question, there's a high chance they're not going to answer you. If you take the second step, which we've added here, it suggests that there may be an interesting opportunity that we have for them based on this being true. So although this is a very common strategy in cold outbound, this is kind of our unique spin on it and our way of really building that curiosity and getting the person to respond to us. So after that, the third step of the process is adding tasteful personalization. As you can see here, we obviously use their first name, which everybody uses, but the big thing in the first question that we leverage is the service that they provide, as you can see here, and the industry that they primarily provide it to. So that's how we know the answer is going to be correct. By using tasteful personalization, we're able to make the messaging relevant by calling out the types of clients they're looking for and in what industry they're looking for them in. The beauty of this is it kind of avoids the valley of uncanny personalization that you see in some of these things that are like very, very obvious. It's AI-based personalization, calling out different things on LinkedIn and whatnot. This remains, this casual tone, adds curiosity, adds relevance, and really just makes it look like a message that you could have sent yourself. The nice thing with this strategy is it really translates well across any of your clients. For this, we're specifically offering lead generation services, but if you had another offer, whether that be like meta ads or something like that, you could ask them a question about, whether or not they're handling meta ads in-house right now, or if they're using a particular strategy that you've actually seen them using in the meta ad space, or realistically anything. The idea being though, just going back to that, is you ask them a question that you validated via data to be true. That's kind of why we call it the Trojan horse strategy, but I'll elaborate more here in a sec. Now, the thing is you probably won't find the perfect email on the first try. So if you want to book calls without having to test all of these scripts yourself, you can book a call below. We've worked with clients like Relay Partners in the M&A space, helping them book 42 calls in just 30 days. And even more recently, TrepAdvisors, who we helped book 7 calls in the first 7 days of campaign launch. So if you want to see how we can do the same for you, you can book a call below. But either way, once that first email gets a response, you're in a whole new game, because most of these replies are not going to be from people who are actually looking to buy your service. After all, the whole point of this strategy is just to get the reply first. So if you want to actually book calls, this next part might even be more important than the first. And that brings us to the next step, where there are only really 2 scenarios. So in scenario 1, that's when you get the yes. This is what we're fishing for. In 80% of the cases, this is what you're going to receive, because again, we're backing the question up by data and we're asking a question that should be true. So if you get the yes, again, we're sticking with the very relaxed, calm tone. So I generally do something along the lines of this. Cool, I thought so, but I just wanted to confirm. So the idea being here is that we knew the answer was true, but we just wanted to get them to confirm it before actually sending anything over. The sneaky part behind this, obviously, is that in cold email, you can't send links or any sort of attachments in the first email. And by getting the response from them, we're actually able to provide this to them, whether or not they're interested in the solution or not. If you have a really strong sales asset in this case, like whether that's a Loom video or some sort of overview document, this will really come in handy as you're able to let the asset do the selling for you. So then we jump into the next line here, which is just essentially build a system that helps you find companies looking for services. And I think we could use it to book some solid opportunities in the industry for you. Again, we're using those two tasteful personalizations that don't really come off as, the typical personalization you see, but adds relevance, makes it look like it was written for them, so on. And then again, there's that sales asset. So here's the Loom video going over the strategy. If it's of interest, maybe we find a few to dive in further, just let me know. Again, casual, laid back, not needy at all. Like, we're essentially just saying like, hey, we have this opportunity for you. If you're interested in seeing what it's about, check it out. If not, whatever, that's fine. And then we have step 2, which is essentially the no response. Given that the data is, 80% accurate in most cases, we're gonna come across a few situations where maybe we call out the wrong industry or we were just wrong about our assumption and they say no. However, in most of these cases, what we're offering is still gonna be valuable to them. So in this case, we just acknowledge the mistake, like, sorry, my bad, but I still think this could be of interest. Essentially, we've built a system that finds companies actively looking for services. In most cases, this services variable is going to be correct, that fit your ideal customer profile. So instead of calling out the industry that we thought that they were focusing on before, we'll actually just keep it open-ended so we're not making the assumption, and that kind of prevents us from being wrong again. And then again, we just share the video. The idea being here is that like we are providing this piece of value, we're providing something that's going to be able to sell the service for us, and it's something that they think that they can likely apply to get the end result without having to have a conversation with you. The hope here is that the asset that you're providing actually provides enough value that it's worth having a conversation. It's something they think they could set up themselves, but in most cases makes more sense for them to talk to you about it. But in both cases here, we're realistically getting to share that asset because again, we've gotten the response. So at that point, it's kind of free game, whichever way we want to go with it. But here's the thing, even if you're getting responses and sending the perfect second email, there's still one step that if you miss it, might completely ruin your results. See, I know plenty of people who get tons of interested responses, but still end up with no calls on the calendar. And the only reason that happens is because they don't follow up with their leads, which brings us to the last part of the process, and that's follow-ups. So scenario 1 is if we send out that first email and get no response at all. In that case, we want to send a follow-up that basically emulates the email we would have sent if we did get a response, but without the email link, because obviously that's kind of out of bounds at this point. So what it kind of looks like on our end is, sorry, first name, last one was a bit vague, but long story short, we built a system that targets companies after, and then we use the services personalization. Reckon we could book some solid opportunities in the industry personalization for you. Again, we're just kind of maintaining that relevance, a little bit of personalization, but super tasteful. And then the CTA in this one is just want me to fire over a short video that shows you how it works. So in the situation where we got the response, we're actually able to send that video. But in the situation where we don't get the response, we just ask for permission first. Again, this is because we're required to get a reply from them in order to send links and attachments and things like that. And that's just to maintain deliverability. And then there's scenario 2, which is when they respond, we pass off our follow-up message and then they just ghost and disappear. So in this case, we're going to send them into a meeting request subsequence. And the idea behind this is it's just going to push the value and just bring the idea back up given that they didn't respond. And again, we're just trying to be very subtle with this. There's no right or wrong way of going about it. But the idea here is that people get busy. Sometimes they're interested in what you have to offer, and then things just come up and you get lost in the inbox. So the idea here is like bumping things up without the obnoxious, just bumping things up kind of message. So you can see in our situation, we do something along the lines of this. Subject line is still open, as in like, are you still open for the opportunity? And then we do something along the lines of just checking back to see if you were still interested in that chat around the system for finding new opportunities in the, and then we'll use that industry personalization again, maintaining relevance. Can reshare my link here if you're up for it, and I'll just give them my calendar. This comes the day after they say yes to the follow-up and they don't respond. If again, they don't follow up after that, we wait 2 days, send another message, again, maintaining that casual tone, trying to, not show any sort of neediness, but just bump things back up to their attention, make them aware that they kind of dropped the ball on it a little bit, and almost like repositioning the value. So in this case, just want to make sure this doesn't slip through the cracks. First name, maybe we can find some time here in the next few days, or happy to shelf it for now. Again, by saying this, it kind of implies that Like, we don't really care either way. If you're interested in this opportunity, we think it's valuable, but we don't need you per se. As soon as you start coming off as needy, that's when people get annoyed. And then we have step 3, which is pretty much like the last stage in this follow-up process. And this one comes pretty well a week later when you factor in a 1-day wait time plus 2-day wait time. And then business days, 4 days after, you're pretty much looking at the next week. And what this looks like you may have gotten caught up. If bringing more opportunities in the industry personalization space is still a priority, just let me know. Again, not being super needy, not like pushing a calendar link, not like assuming the sale or anything like that. It's more so just like, if this is still something you're thinking about, just let me know. We'll sort something out. Super casual. And then the third scenario here is the no-show subsequence, which I thought I'd throw in for fun. This one kind of occurs after the meeting has already been booked, and then the prospect doesn't show up to the call, which is pretty much inevitable. It's going to happen from time to time, but these are the ones you want to spend the most time on because the prospect has, validated that you're solving a problem that they think that they're experiencing and they're ready to take action on it. Something generally just came up or they changed their mind or so on. So I think it's really important here just to stay top of mind and again just kind of like nudge things a little bit. So we generally use a subject line like this, like first name mix up. So maybe there was something that happened, maybe they had a call that got scheduled over and they didn't have time to tell you, something along those lines. And again, keeping with that casual tone, not sure if timing got mixed up, but seems like I wasn't able to catch you during a chat you scheduled. If you're interested in rescheduling, let me know. Again, we send this almost like a text. There's no like signature, there's no calendar link, there's nothing like that. It's just like this very short 1-liner, 2-liner, kind of just trying to get top of mind again. And then 2 days later, we send another one that essentially says, my schedule's a bit chaotic lately. Again, almost like framing your time is a little bit more important than theirs. Not that you want to create this like power frame, but the idea being that like we get busy too. We're not here just trying to like beg for the call, but I think there's still a pretty big opportunity here if you're up for rescheduling that chat. I'll reshare my calendar link here if it makes it easier to find another time. So generally I like to share the calendar link, but not until later on. It's not ever going to be the first thing that we do and just like push it in their face. It's more so like, at this point, if they wanted to find your calendar link, it's probably 3, 4, 5 messages back. So it's just kind of putting that present again, because there's a chance they come back to this a couple days later. And if it's the first thing at the top of their inbox in the chat, then they're able to access it easier. Now, this is one of the easiest ways to book calls with cold email. But if you're not doing any other outreach, you could be missing out on a ton of extra people that you could be selling your service to. So if you want to see our entire outreach strategy, watch this video and I'll see you there.